Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Season 7, Episode 2. 3, actually. See, this is how much we're going through today. Of the phenomenon known to mankind as Saturday afternoon's main event. If you do not know who I am, dumb, stupid, blind, plain irrelevant, I suggest you go to school, go into your library, but get the biggest dictionary you can find, preferably Merriam-Webster, and look me up under the word phenomenal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, the Phenomenal One, and of course here on Saturday afternoon's main event, I'm not alone because I have my co-host, the one, the only, limousine riding, jet flying, piss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun, who's not having a hard time holding his alligators down. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, give me 2 claps and a peeps Nate.
Woo! Yes, we are here. We are here. Oh, good grief. Every week when we do this show, we always say it's a jam-packed show. We always say there's a lot of things going on. I didn't think we would be that literal when it came to big things happening. Off of last week, more stuff happens that will bring you through. Hopefully, we'll be able to be your guide through the jungle that is professional wrestling today.
Yes, peeps. I mean, for God's sakes, guys, if you've tuned in to the past 2 weeks, you would know we've had so much, from surprises to more surprises to the itty gritty to what Peeps Nate would literally say, scat.
Yes.
For God's sakes, guys.
Lots of strife, chaos, angst, and turmoil.
Exactly right.
Lots.
A lot of it.
Yes.
So, look, today's going to be none different. We're going to have rants. We're going to have I digresses. We're going to have everything that we are supposed to give you because, of course, here on Saturday afternoon's main event, we're here to give you laughs, good times, and all the wrestling news possible. Shout out to everybody who's tuning in right now from YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. As I said, let's get this show on the road. So, peeps, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, say no more. So you guys know, when you go ahead and start off saying, you have to hear one sound. And that's it right there. So that means it's time for one thing and one thing only. It's time for Wrestling Crash Course. Let's fire it up. First and foremost, McMahon allegations have taken a drastic turn. Of course, if we reported it last week, you guys would know that we heard that Vince McMahon has done some McMahon things.
Yes.
And that's not surprising due to the fact that he is the same person who got Trish Stratus to take off all of her clothes, get on all fours, and bark like a dog. Nothing new. But damn it, Vince, you make it hard for us to try to defend you as wrestling fans each and every single day. How in the heck? Okay, I'm not even going to get into these allegations no more, but all I'm going to say is that if you do know, there has been a 67-page lawsuit filed on Vincent Kennedy McMahon. John Laurinaitis is in that. So is Brock Lesnar. And they're saying that there's other names. But just this past week, we have now heard that the FBI is now a part of this investigation.
Oh, yes.
Vince McMahon got the feds on his case. How in 2024 is just insane.
Yes.
But even more so, we are now hearing that there is a source, somewhat of a leaker, inside the new Titan Towers that has spoken to Fightful. Of course, Sean Ross Sapp, if you do not know the head of Fightful, of course, the face. The leaker says that there are plenty other names and higher ups that are a part of this situation and this investigation.
Yes.
And if in the coming weeks those names do not come out, then the leaker will go ahead and forward the names of others that he or she knows is involved to reporters, investigators, and in the words of Rod Van Dam, the whole effing show. So, peeps, what do we do, man? What do we do? What are we thinking? How the heck did this happen? And who are we thinking are some names that are coming out of this? God forbid I hear Paul Michael Levesque.
Well, this is where we're going to begin to have a little bit of soul searching for the wrestling fandom. And we're also going to start to hear about some of the things that we've known based on what we've seen throughout the world of wrestling as we know it. Now, based on what we do know, there were, from allegedly through the lawsuit, that there were NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, that were signed apparently by some of the alleged victims that are within this lawsuit. From what we're hearing from the lawyer of Janelle Grant, who is the person that is filed this 67-page lawsuit, that there are apparently other victims involved, other victims that may come out at some point. Now, the other thing that is the other revelation that we've been hearing, and this is something that I listened to and heard of as soon as last night, was that some of these NDAs, because of a law that may go into effect in Connecticut, may be null and void. And the premise behind this whole thing is, now that the feds are involved in this, we're not talking about money. We're not talking about punitive damages. We're not talking about civil lawsuits. We're talking about hardcore jail time. We're talking about the sunken place.
Exactly.
We're talking about where Tammy Lynn Sitch is right now, sitting in a jail cell.
We're talking about Al Capone's forever home, Alcatraz.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We've got
We're talking
that point.
Underneath the jail cell.
Exactly.
And the crazy part about this whole thing is, and this is something that I kind of alluded to last week, a lot of very powerful people that have money, when they do illegality like this, they try to cover themselves up by forcing people to sign NDAs and then try to buy off their silence. And the reason why NDAs are usually so helpful for people doing these kinds of things is not because of the NDA itself. It's taking that person to court and having enough money to fight something like this. Whereas you may be correct in the allegations and you may have the proof, but you may not have the funds, the means to go and litigate this whole thing without going bankrupt. So that's where the NDAs seem to be the most effective, of keeping down those that have the proof, but at the same time, don't go in and bring up the information that they have or that they need to use to adjudicate that in court. And that's the problem. And people that work under Vince McMahon, I am pretty sure, Lord knows how many people have signed NDAs over 30, 40 years working within that company that are either still there or have left, either in disgrace or were fired or just decided to move on or whatever was the case. And if a lot of this stuff happens in the feds, because remember, the feds raided his home last year prior to the whole, well, I'm retiring from the WWE, it's time for me to step down. The feds, they went through his home. And if they went through his home and they got his cell phone, they got his computer, any electronics, anything that leaves a paper trail, text messages are probably not the only thing Vince McMahon would have to worry about. And if that's the case, wow, there's going to be hell to pay, because it's not just him. It's everyone that is interconnected in his world, and who knows how far those tentacles fan out to.
Exactly. And I mean, for God's sakes, now for me, I'm sitting there like, maybe it would make sense why Kevin Dunn left. Maybe that's another name that comes out of it. Another thing that I'm hearing is that somehow, some way, TKO knew about this going into the sale, but they were probably trying their hardest not to focus on the subject itself and the matter because they were trying to complete the sale. But now it seems like, peeps, this is edging to something even greater.
There is no way on planet Earth that you going and make a huge deal like that and not do any research or do any background checks or any due diligence into finding out what's been going on with the perspective of this, knowing what it can do to your brand. And if that's the case, we know that the WWE is now under the arm of Endeavor and TKO Holdings. If what we know they're going to try to do is, if anyone is connected to Vince McMahon, they will be purged. And this is what's happening now, because if you think about it, we knew that we probably knew or alluded to the fact that Brock Lesnar was going to probably be at the Royal Rumble.
Yup.
He didn't show up.
Exactly.
We know that the company has now kind of done the Benoit treatment with Brock Lesnar as far as his merchandising and all references to his name, et cetera, et cetera. They're doing the same to Vince, because I don't know if anybody has tried to go onto Vince McMahon's WWE page. I don't think you can really find anything. So I'm pretty sure that they're trying to kind of clear that all up. Kind of hard to, help to purge 45 years of association with a brand that you helped create. But this is where we're at right now. And if the WWE has anything to do with trying to cover any of this stuff up, this could actually hurt the credibility of the brand going forward. Not just those that were connected to it. I'm talking about the brand itself.
In the words of superstar Billy Graham, God rest your soul. Peace, would you like to do the honors?
Have mercy.
There we go.
There you go.
But it seems like a lot of people are chiming in on this subject matter. Taekwon is one of them. First thing he said was, no disrespect to the victims, but I've been violated by The Rock's presence on my screen. I blame Peeps. No proof, but he deserves blame.
I put all the blame on me, right?
Exactly. But it's funny because it seems like a couple of people are now saying, when Peeps names get leaked, Peeps, do you think that your name is on that? Oh God, Hot Rod even says, is Peeps' name on that list as well? Peeps, is there something that you're telling me? Because if anything, I think I have to go ahead and talk to the committee. And we might have to get you removed. Peeps, are you hiding something?
I plead the fifth.
You plead the fifth? Oh God!
No, in all reality, in the way that everything has gone on right now, and we're all having a little bit of levity here, but in general, I think that the victims involved are going to actually look at this whole thing and see where this goes going forward. And I think that the way that this has been brought out now, let's just hope that all of the information that is there is as accurate as humanly possible, and all of the ducks are in a row, and they've crossed their T's and dotted their I's and made sure everything is the way it's supposed to be. Because if this is going to go to court, this is going to be huge.
In the words of our 45th president of the United States, it's going to be huge. Huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, this is, oh gosh.
Oh, Court TV, Law and Crime Network,
you might even
Dateline NBC.
Yo, listen. ESPN, for God's sakes.
Yes.
Caesar's Palace will have it on its scoreboards. I kid you not. Peeps,
yes.
Listen, Peeps, this will be bigger than OJ's trial. Okay, let's put it like that. Like, have mercy. The Phenom even says he's like Saturday afternoon's main event, wishes Vince McMahon all the best in his future endeavors.
And if you think about it, you know what future endeavored Vince McMahon? The man that could not keep his meat to himself was taken out by a meat company. Lord have mercy.
Wow.
You really can't make that up. I went there just for that example. If you think about it, Vince McMahon allegedly has had, we've seen a litany of circumstantial evidence from the 80s and the 90s and going to 2000s and the 2010s and up to now. And all of the scandals that have been there have all been around literally the same kind of category, which is what is being alleged in this lawsuit. And if there are any more names, any more victims, and as we've thought about who else could be involved, former women wrestlers, former employees, people that worked within the circle of Vince McMahon, and the company TKO has already said they're going to, if anyone is connected to Vince McMahon in this situation, they will be purged. And I find it ironic in this space that of the people that are involved that we're hearing as part of this lawsuit, we've heard the name alluded to as Brock Lesnar. We know Vince McMahon is the central name in this. The other person that's involved in this alleged situation is John Laurinaitis. John Laurinaitis' name has popped up into this. And involved in this, as we remember, his stepchildren, who happen to be the Bella twins, they did they went on social media to basically say, we don't condone any of this is happening. We stand with the victims, and we're going to do what we can. This is a private matter to try to see what we can do about this. But just a couple of days ago, John Laurinaitis, through his lawyer, basically said, I am not a predator. I am a victim. I am a victim.
That killed me. That killed me. What are you a victim to? Seeing Vince scat on a female? Is that what you're a victim to? Like, let's try to, like, what are you a victim to?
It is insanely implausible that somebody who has been in running circles with Vince McMahon for the better part of 2 decades is a victim. Now, we have heard stories like this on through other lawsuits in business, as like through politicians and people that are running companies and those kinds of things, where the person that is like the CEO of the company has money, has influence, and makes certain employee do certain things under duress and holding their job over their head as, well, you do what I say or else.
Yep.
Does anyone really believe that John Laurinaitis, who the last time I checked stood at 6'5", 2 and change, has been in the wrestling business for quite a long time, has been a booker, has been a wrestler, is actually a victim of all of this stuff?
Beeps.
That he could have stayed away from this?
Beeps. I think they named the wrong Laurinaitis animal.
Oh,
I'm not
boy.
even gonna lie to you. Like, I'm done.
Oh,
gosh.
man.
Phenom says this. Maybe he had to eat it. Oh, God.
Oh.
Don't even.
I can't. I can't.
I digress.
There you go. That's the first one of this. That's the first one of the show. That's number 14 on the year. Let's go.
Gosh. Yup, number 14 on the year. Jeez.
Yes, it's I'm gonna say this just to kind of streamline this. For the alleged victims in all of this, we have to be careful in the fact that the person involved and anyone else going forward is not re-victimized by having to recall and go through all of these allegations again. Now, hopefully, if it gets to trial, it all gets adjudicated, because like we said, we know the feds are involved now. That all of the information that's there is there, and this can be done in a court of law. Exactly. But even if a modicum of this is false, and we just have 1 or 2 allegations that happen, or whatever is the case, this then just adds to a lot of the things that most people have openly thought about Vince McMahon, but could never prove. Just based on, like I said last week, the circumstantial evidence of the storylines that he's done. If nothing else, that should be more than enough for people to think, Vince McMahon, take your money, go to Connecticut, and stay away. Let the business grow and continue to move forward away from your steed. And a lot of people will think you should never hear from him again.
Yup. Oh, man. Well, that ends the first comment for today. The next piece of news. CM Punk is officially out for WrestleMania. If you all watched the Royal Rumble this past weekend, you would know that CM Punk tore his tricep in the match after taking a deadly future shock DDT at the hands of Drew McIntyre.
Yes.
Which in the same match, Drew McIntyre kicked the tooth out of Cody Rhodes' mouth. But you know what?
Yes.
We'll get into that later because I have a rant for that.
Yes.
But all in all, CM Punk is out for Mania. Which leaves us with what, peeps? Somebody else facing Seth Rollins. May I add a broken and bruised Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship?
Yes.
And I think this might tie into our real topic later, but peeps, what the heck is happening? We went from November of, because I remember exactly, we all sat there around the table for Survivor Series.
Yes.
To witness the return of CM Punk. Then social media took to notice that what the cameras didn't show was a Seth Rollins kind of yelling, cursing, throwing the whole 9 yards at CM Punk while he was up at the ramp. Beyond all that, we all began to say, okay, the booking for WrestleMania is there. They are currently planting the seeds, which that's what it was. And now, a week before Punk gets injured, Rollins comes out and says that he tore his MCL, but he's still going to try to make it a Mania. Now, fast forward, Punk is out. Like, out. It's not like he can force his way back into the main event, let it heal. No, he just had surgery on Thursday. He's out. So, which means, do we see Volta become the new World Heavyweight Champion? Do we see Drew McIntyre place himself currently to win a WWE title in front of fans? Or is it now Sami Zayn's time? Or does Seth Rollins just win the whole damn thing again and just goes into a quick hiatus to go ahead and heal up, and then fast forward, CM Punk comes back at Money in the Bank or so, and then poof. What are we supposed to be witnessing here?
The WWE has seemingly, because of circumstances completely out of their control, have now backed themselves into yet another booking corner. Mm-hmm. The first booking corner that they got themselves in was having Roman Reigns hold on to the championships for as long as he's had. Yep. So now that you've done that, embrace it. And that's what they've done. And he's been WWE Universal LMNOP champion.
Funny, peeps, did you hear that they currently just changed it straight to WWE?
Yes, yeah, I noticed that. There's no more Universal, all that blah, 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 blah.
I-95 South. Yeah,
exactly.
All of that is done, yeah.
It's no longer the onomatopoeia championship.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
And there you go.
There you go.
Based on what we've seen, the thought process is, from what I'm gathering, is that Rollins being hurt is going to be figuring out a way to hold on to that belt so that he can make it to WrestleMania and defend the World Heavyweight Championship against whoever his challenger is going to be. Should it be Volta, as far as I'm concerned? Oh, yes. And my personal thing, I would have thought would have been perfect, but I don't think is going to happen, would have been the first time you have a champion versus champion as the main event of night one of WrestleMania. And you have Seth, and then you have Volta. And you go ahead and you have that as your main event night one, and you have Volta win the championship. But I doubt that that's going to happen. So table that to the side. Punk being hurt changes both shows' trajectories. Yep. In the sense that we have a man who, since coming back to wrestle, has had 3 major injuries. He's broken his ankle, and he's torn both triceps. And the one thing that CM Punk has been trying to show everybody is that he still has it. When he's healthy, he's had some still really good matches. We recall the feud that he had with MJF, the feud he had with Moxley, the sort of feud with Paige. So he has had really good matches when he was in AEW when he was healthy. And then, of course, his final match in AEW was against Samoa Joe, the eventual AEW World Champion. And to see CM Punk hurt, as I said, changes the fortunes of all of the shows, because I think what we were looking at was a locked-in Cody versus Roman, and then Punk versus Rollins. and that was locked in, and then you build everything else around it. Now that we have the Vince McMahon allegations, which changes what was going to happen with maybe booking Brock in a potential match against Walter over the IC championship and having a big meaty men slapping meat fest in that one, that is no longer going to happen. CM Punk is hurt. He's probably done until at least after SummerSlam, maybe a little further out, depending on how he heals. So what do we do here with CM Punk out? That is the question. And if you're looking at Drew, who I think has shown he is probably the second best heel on Monday Night Raw.
Nope.
Closely approaching number one. He has really done a great job of changing from being a straight face to a tweener to an all-out heel with a bad attitude. I really enjoy his character work that he's done and shown. So if anybody could make that work, it could be Drew. I think that would definitely work. But right now, I think they're still kind of trying to fine-tune what is going to happen based on what we talk about later on in the show.
So, peeps, if what you're saying is correct, do we see the return of the Scottish Psychopath?
I think the Scottish Psychopath is already here.
Yup.
I firmly believe he's already here. He's just put a veneer of snark around his character to kind of, he's not yelling and screaming and telling everybody you all need to go to hell, et cetera, et cetera. He's doing it with a snark and a condescension that works for his character. And if you remember, if you saw what he put after he quote unquote re-injured CM Punk's arm, there was a poster he showed. I found it hilarious.
Don't forget Tricep Day.
Yes, Tricep Day. You know, you got to work those triceps. And then the poster he put where it was a picture of CM Punk in a coffin saying CM Punk's WWE career, born 2024, died 2024. Like, and him sitting down on top of the coffin. Those are the kinds of things that you need to do to get that character over as such a heelish person. Yep. And it's going to work because he's doing it the right way now.
Definitely so. Definitely so. From there, we move to the next piece of news. Bron Breakker and Tiffany Stratton from NXT are now on the main roster. Signed their contracts to SmackDown last night. Peeps, this is some good stuff. Well, I mean, of course, Bron Breakker hasn't signed to SmackDown yet, nor Raw. We'll know by this coming Monday on Raw. But peeps, now that we are edging into NXT coming up, which Bron Breakker was long overdue, Tiffany Stratton on the main roster?
Yes.
For God's sakes, peeps, we are officially in a new era. I love it.
Yes, we are.
I love it. But honestly, peeps, if we're sitting here looking at it like that, does Tiffany Stratton get her WrestleMania moment this year? In the sense of first debut match, maybe against the Bianca Belair?
I don't think it's going to happen yet. But I believe she's going to have a pretty decent showing at WrestleMania, whoever her opponent is.
Because honestly, Bianca would be I would say, like kind of like the totem pole to sit there and like, okay, you know what, I would have to go ahead and face her. Maybe just to prove worth, because it's like she already faced Becky, and knowing that Becky's on Raw, it's kind of like, okay, that's it. But Becky's gonna be challenging most likely for the Women's World Championship. So who'd you have it against? Because for me, if Bianca doesn't face Tiffany, it's definitely Jade. It's one of the other two. And for me, it's still a money-making match.
Yes. Or they could decide that it's Tiffany's WrestleMania debut. They can put her in with Zoe Stark, which would be a very good high-profile match for both, as the company has shown a lot of confidence that Zoe Stark is much better and is having really good matches. And in a high-profile match, she could put Tiffany over in something that would work on a WrestleMania. Maybe not the first match of night one, maybe the second or third. It could be as a high-profile match, depending on what they want to do with it. As far as Tiffany goes, the way that they close her out on NXT, that worked. because she finally lost her last match, and she has to clean. What was she cleaning? Stables and cleaning out poop and everything else, and doing what they needed to do to get her over. And then she's now gone. Now that she is on the main roster, she fits. The question is, now that she's on SmackDown, let's figure out what her opponent can be. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody from SmackDown on the roster to get her over. As far as Braun Breaker goes, Braun is right now the younger, hungrier version of Brock Lesnar.
Yup.
And that goes into saying that for those that don't realize what happened at the Royal Rumble, all of those spots that Braun Breaker was in, all the way down to him being eliminated by Dominic Mysterio, that was supposed to be Brock's spot. Everything that he did. So Braun has been ready for the main roster a year ago. True. 2-time NXT champion. He's shown the face version, so we know what he can do, what his range is as being a face. We also know what his range is as a heel, and he's definitely a better heel than he is a face. But also that intensity that they showed, and having him teamed up with Baron Corbin for that Dusty Tag Team Tournament had done wonders for his character development. Now that he's going to be on the main roster on SmackDown, definitely works.
Yes.
Potentially. Because we know Raw is coming. He's going to play into the idea of both GMs. So Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce, they'll be fighting back and forth over kind of like what they used to do with Randy Savage back in the day when all the managers were trying to sign him left and right, and he threw everybody a curveball and decided to bring his wife, Miss Elizabeth, as his manager and just said, to heck with the rest of you. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be a very interesting recruitment that they do here over the next 72 hours.
Well, I mean, they said that Brock's road to WrestleMania would start with him facing Dominic Mysterio, maybe at the Elimination Chamber, and then going on to facing Walter for the IC title. Mm-hmm. They just took Brock out and implemented Braun in. And I mean, Braun's going to Raw. And if anything, babes, Braun Breaker versus Walter at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title.
And I'll do you one better. Braun Breaker winning the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania.
It should have been it should have been Ilya Dragunov. I kid you not, peeps. That's what it had to be. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's cool. Braun Breaker, it settles the score. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
So look, in the sense of that, WWE, please book it. That for me, that match could potentially steal the show if it is either night 1 or night 2. I mean, listen, as you say, peeps. BMMSM. Yeah.
There you go.
So, listen, it is what it is. From there, we move to the next and final topic for Wrestling Crash Course. Monet and Okada watch. Which presumably now, peeps, there's a money-making chance that both of them are going to AEW. AEW Dynamite is in the TD Garden next week. Boston. Okay, Mercedes Moné to AEW confirmed. Okada. Yeah, they're going to try to go ahead and pay him money, making money. Tony Khan wouldn't want to go ahead and give up that quick. So, I mean, no. Okada's there as well. That's all I can say. I'm literally just like, okay, you know, that peeps, what? I think we're done now with that. Like, listen, no more Monet and Okada to WWE. Listen, it's done.
No more speculation. Let's get this done. And also knowing that Tony Khan has basically stated on Wednesday that this upcoming Wednesday, there's going to be a huge announcement being made on Dynamite this Wednesday. So we all know, I think we're all past Tony Khan. Oh, the announcement. Oh, he's here again. What's he gonna? He's gonna talk about the next announcement, which is he's got a hangnail. Oh, guys, I just got rid of the hangnail. I'm sorry. Tune in next week and I'll tell you how to cut it.
Should have gotten rid of Hangman before he got rid of that hangnail, but you know what?
Oh boy. There's number 2. I think based on all of the lawsuits and stuff we talk about, I think number 2 should be something we don't talk about for a long time. Oh, grief.
Right.
Oh man. It's insane. The 2 weeks or so that we've had in wrestling. But Mercedes Moné, I think you could pretty much as close to having a lead pipe iron lock on her being there on Dynamite. Okada, from what we saw not that long ago, Pro Wrestling Tees, which usually does a lot of t-shirts for either independent wrestlers or AEW wrestlers, et cetera, they were basically instructed to take down Okada's shirts within a 24-hour period of when it was announced. That they announced that Okada, you have 24 hours from there. So that leads you to believe he's signing with someone. WWE.
He was signing with AEW. What did the tees just stay up?
And that's where everybody was thinking he was probably WWE bound. But a lot of people forget Okada is married to a prominent Japanese actress. He's going to come to America, which is a huge move from being in New Japan for the better part since 2008. And that's a huge jump to leave your country to come to another country to make a living for yourself and to bring your wife, who is established in her home country also. It's going to depend on what Tony Khan does, because Tony Khan does have the money to go ahead and take these 2 stars and do something with them. What he does with them, that's an argument for another day. But can you see any one of these 2 in WWE? I think the Mercedes Moné, that ship sailed. She's AEW bound.
Yeah.
Okada, that's kind of like 75-25 that he's AEW bound.
So you're still saying there's a 25% chance?
I think there's a 25%, and it's lowering every week that he's going to go to WWE. I think he's been in AEW before. He's performed in AEW. He's been a Forbidden Door. He's done shows wrestling against AEW wrestlers. So he has the familiarity of knowing the product and knowing what to expect from a relationship with AEW.
Well, peeps, we got a couple more weeks. We'll see, right?
Yes.
All right, then. Well, look, guys, that marks the end for Wrestling Crash Course. So also that kind of marks the end for the first half of Saturday afternoon's main event. When we come back for our 30-second break, we will get into the questions that we have for today. And then once those are done, we have our final topic for same this afternoon, which is Cody, Roman, Rock.
Oh, yeah. Lots to get on that one.
Oh, yes. Oh, gosh. Taekwon, really? If Triple H would have added in an egg roll, we would have gotten Okada.
Good.
I love our fans. Have mercy. But, guys...
That's tea please. For you folks.
Exactly. But please, guys, kick back, stay tuned, because the second half of Saturday afternoon's main event is coming up next. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the second half of Saturday afternoon's main event. Of course, it's a phenomenal one. On my right side is the Peeps Nate. As we always say, we're here to give you laughs, good times, and all the wrestling news possible. So look, we always have this thing where we go ahead and send in questions. You guys always send in questions. We love the questions. If you guys want to be a part of this, like the others, all you got to do is one thing and one thing only. DM us on Instagram at Saturday afternoons_main event. Send in a question. In the words of JBL, I guarantee it will be on the next episode of the show. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the first question. First one comes from Master Sean 007. He says, greetings, gentlemen. Now that the fallout from McMahon Gate is taking place, I am thinking about the legal ramifications that's going to happen. I can see a lot of current and former talent being subpoenaed. It's going to be a mess, unless Vince decides to settle out of court. What are the chances of him settling? Do you see other women breaking their NDAs just to testify if it goes to trial? And how can you, Chris Benoit, Vince, from the company that he built up and owned since the early 80s? He coined the phrase sports entertainment. He also coined the phrase, that is such good Let me stop. I'm so sorry. But Peeps, yes. You want to take this question?
Yeah, I'll take this one. It's a many-faceted question that we'll try to hit from every corner that we can. First off, as far as the legal ramifications, as we spoke about a little earlier in the show, we know that this is far-reaching, more so because, as we said before, Janelle Grant, who is the proponent of the lawsuit, her lawyer is stating that there are more people that are probably willing to speak on this, which means that there are more alleged victims out there that are willing to testify and say something and put in testimony to things that have happened to them or things that they have seen or may have been involved with on the other side of this. So that then adds more perspective to a lot of the things that are being brought up, which would then corroborate a lot of things that Ms. Grant is alleging. Second of all, we also know that, and I think a lot of people have alluded to this over the years, that a lot of women that have been in the WWE have had nightmare stories that have either happened to them or that they know of or have seen, that they've either kept quiet or because of those NDAs that we're really not sure of the veracity of these NDAs, that they may know something that could definitely harm the company. Because let's really be honest, this is now a publicly traded company.
Yep.
Within the auspices of TKO Holdings and Endeavor, they knew going in what the potential hit was going to be, quote unquote, getting involved with Vince McMahon and anything that had to do with it. What we're now going to worry about is how this goes forward with the company. Because now, if you're looking at it, the company has to then backtrack. And I'm not even talking about just WWE. This has negative effects on the UFC also, and TKO Holdings as a group. Because now those shareholders of UFC, their television partners, the ones that do pay-per-views and marketing and do all of those things that branch out the business, now they're going to wonder, okay, you actually decided to buy a company that was run and operated and pretty much created by somebody that is potentially a criminal and have openly known that this investigation was coming down the road, and you're going to get into business with that person? And oh, by the way, give them a cushy job on the board of directors? That's something that is really, really odd. Now you also have those that are, let's say, within the company that are close confidants of Vince McMahon. Maybe those that are still there, or maybe those that are no longer there but know where the bodies are buried, so to speak. That's going to come back and haunt Vince. The text messages that we know about, not the ones that we don't know about, just what we know about, it should be damning enough. But what we don't know about, the interactions of other wrestlers, other people that were involved, and then the previous lawsuits that may be out of statute of limitations, but of prominent people within the business that know of the like we talked about the Rita Chatterton instance that happened, that was brought up in the 90s, but had happened allegedly through her in the 80s when she was the first female referee in the WWE, back when it was WWF, and all of the things that she alleged. And now there are so many different things happening that are getting the wheels going, that are making people question, how did we as fans, you, myself, other people that watch this product, how do we actually continue to champion this great product with all of the nonsense and all of the things that we now know today? It kind of makes you wonder, like, wow, what as wrestling fans, what were we watching? How did this happen? And we gave our money to a lot of this stuff. So that's kind of been hard for a lot of wrestling fans to reconcile with, because I've been seeing online people that have been like conflicted, that they're fans of the WWE, but they also know that they've been fans for a long time, knowing this kind of stuff was going on, and still supported it. So that's where the conflicted notion is as a wrestling fan. And I'm pretty sure you might have some of that as well, a little consternation as to, wow, what is going on? What am I watching? Mm-hmm. And then the last part of that is, how can they scrub Vince McMahon from the company, the business that he pretty much created, so to speak, after buying the company from his late father, Vince McMahon Sr. How on earth that can happen is if the company that owns the product is actually looking right now to kind of sanitize all of the really evil things that happen on his watch. They may be thinking that's the only way that makes sense, but it's impossible. Exactly. The same way that they've erased Benoit. Benoit wrestled for at least 25 years prior, and you can find Benoit matches online. You can watch matches that he's had, knowing what we know about Chris Benoit. At the same time,
he's still on a network pay-per-view. So I mean, for God's sake, they just don't mention him.
They just don't mention him, and they don't promote him.
Exactly.
And he's never going to be put in their Hall of Fame, as he probably shouldn't be, given what he has done.
Exactly.
But knowing what Vince McMahon is alleged to have done, and I'm going to continue to say alleged, even though there is a genuine sense of the fact that a lot of the stuff that has come out is credible information, we're not going to know that until this gets to trial, if it gets to trial. Yeah. The fact remains that we're looking and talking, instead of talking about WrestleMania, instead of talking about the great things that happen, we're talking about this. And you know, the people involved that took shots at not just Vince McMahon, but supported Vince McMahon are looking really, really silly. You know, one person is going to look really silly? Chris Jericho. Reason why I bring that up is, if you recall, not that long ago, probably about a year ago, when a lot of the first hit of allegations came out that he stepped down on, Jericho did a podcast and he talked about, well, you know, Vince McMahon he's been accused of different things and he's done all of these things and nobody can prove it, and he's got all this money, he'll get away with it and we won't be talking about it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he's a powerful guy, he'll move on. Those comments really age like 9-month-old milk. And if you go back and listen to a lot of the people that have thought, well, he's a powerful man, he's gonna get away with it, nothing's gonna happen. Yeah, here we are today.
Huh. I mean, for God's sakes, it's in the same year that Chris Jericho had to deal with allegations of his own.
Exactly.
Go figure. Go figure.
Yes.
Peeps, the world we live in, man. The wrestling we follow. Jeez.
Wow. Yes. But it makes you think and it makes you wonder, where do we go from here? And my thought process is, I have a lot of feelings about a lot of this, but I'm going to hold on to those fully until there's either a trial, or that if there's more information going forward that may dispute certain things, it may add to other things. It may accentuate, or it may just take away. We won't know. But as there's more information coming out and there are more players involved and they're adding extra names that are coming out that were potential alleged victims, when all of that information has been disseminated and we get to find out what's going on, then I will give you my full opinion. And I am pretty sure if it's on the negative of where we're going, it's going to be an excoriation of the highest regard. So if that's the case, I think a lot of people, I might actually go viral by some of the stuff that I may say. So I'm going to hold judgment until we know more.
Just plead the fifth, peeps. Just plead the fifth.
Yes. Yes.
From that, we move to the next question. Shout out to Master Sean 007 for that one.
Yes.
Next one is not really even a question. It's just I think this will just go straight into our topic. Long Island Isaiah says this. They did Cody wrong, man. Sips tea. Let me just have a coffee let me just have a sip of coffee. Let's just.
There you go. Let the caffeine open the lungs. Breathe it in.
It's gonna open more than the lungs, peeps. I feel a rant coming on.
Yes.
But guys, this marks the end of our questions for Saturday afternoon's main event. We have some comments here. Funny because Phenom says this in response to Taekwon's earlier comment. Taekwon don't know what he's talking about. Pork fried rice would have gotten Okada and the wife in a 2-for-1 special.
Wow.
Add some wontons to it and some crab rangoon, for God's sakes. Oh, wow. I can't even put this. It's a family channel. But Hot Rod says this. Hey, peeps. How many of your ferocious recreational toys have wrestling names like Andre the Giant and Big John Studd?
I think you would have to ask Vincent Kennedy McMahon about that one. Because he seems to be the person that's cornering the market on that kind of thing. So can you think about that? I mean, you think about that before we even get to that next topic. Just think about what world we live in when that is now part of the vernacular of what we as wrestling fans have to deal with.
But the only reason I believe Vince did all of this is because of the text messages, peeps.
Yes.
Nobody uses voluptuous to describe a woman in 2024 except for Vince. His vernacular was insane in some of those messages.
And you can actually hear him say that in public.
Peeps.
She's so voluptuous.
Peeps.
Oh.
Here's what killed me. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Here's what killed me. I'm gonna go ahead and direct this in a way to sound, family friendly. But peeps, remember when, he was quote unquote feuding with DX in 06? And you had that one time, that whole Triple H segment with Sean out there, and he was like, Vince, I know you're an animal hater. They need arrested for animal cruelty. You hate dogs? No, I don't hate dogs. You hate cats? No, I don't hate cats. You hate cocks? I love. And notice how that word literally comes up in every single text.
Yes.
Vince is killing me with this. How R. Kelly say?
I'm gonna fight for my life. Yeah. Oh, good Lord. Yes.
Honestly, this is what it's come to.
Yes.
Like, what says this? Here's how to Benoit Vince, son of a noted wrestling promoter, took his father's legacy and established WWE to what it is today. That easy.
Wow.
He has a point. I mean,
and he's not that far off. Unfortunately, he's not that far off.
At all. Well, guys, as I said, this marks the end of the questions. If you want to send in questions for next week, all you got to do is one thing and one thing only. DM us on Instagram at Saturday afternoons_main events. I didn't want to do this today.
Yeah.
But before I do anything, guys, I just want to kind of ease out for a little bit. And I want all of you to close your eyes. Peeps included. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to give you a quick story, and I'm going to want your feelings in the comment section after. And this goes for everybody. Imagine you are with a woman since high school. All right? Beautiful, amazing, smart, funny, talented, whole 9 yards.
Okay.
And the more that you're sitting there, being with her, you're noticing that it is your destiny to be with her for the rest of your life, which means that sooner or later you're going to pop the question. Upon you finishing high school, then going on to college and starting your career, you then buy yourself a 2-3 carat diamond ring and you propose to her for the first time. She says no. She then goes ahead and proceeds to break up with you. You guys fall apart for a little bit, but somehow, someway, you two make yourselves back to each other. About 2 years in, you try to give it another try. She denies once more. Upon that, you're like, okay, I'm going to give it more time until she is ready. Upon you going ahead and kind of making strides and going to first, second, and third base, hitting home runs, grand slams, all of the above, you begin to say, okay, now's my chance to ask her to marry me. Go ahead. You bring out the ring again. And upon going to see her, she then presents to you her ex-boyfriend who she was with while you two weren't together. And then she says that please, can you help me introduce him to my family? All of you can open your eyes now. And now you guys can go into the comment section and tell me what the heck do you think about that? How would you feel? Gutted? Yeah. Feel like an a-hole? Feel like a cuck? You'd hate yourself, honestly, right, peeps? I'm like,
yes,
I'm giving it $1.50. Yeah, you'd honestly hate yourself.
Yes.
I know the comments are probably stirring in right now. People are probably going to go ahead and type something funny. I'm just ready for Taekwon to say something stupid. But you get the memo, right? Peeps, how did we go ahead in the year 2024, our Lord, AD? How did we get here? Just how? How? Guys, I traveled 250 miles with a couple of my friends last weekend to go to St. Petersburg and see the Royal Rumble. I sat there with the intuition that CM Punk was going to win the Rumble. Of course, that ended up happening. But instead, still as a treat, I got to see Cody go ahead and win back-to-back Royal Rumbles. And it's so funny because as some of my friends wanted to be quick to leave, I myself stood back, kind of waited a little bit. And what you noticed was that pointed to the sign, pyrotechnics go off, turns around, looks up to the press box that was at the right side of me and a couple of my friends, and points to Roman Reigns, seemingly telling you that I want you at WrestleMania, Roman Reigns. I want to finish the story. The story that we all talk about that was supposed to be finished since last year. Granted, we know that it was supposed to be coming eventually. Peep saw it coming. He said, look, there's no way. He just comes in, winning clean every single week in and week out, and you're going to tell me that he's going to beat Roman that easy. No. So, of course, that happens. Raw after WrestleMania goes into a feud with Brock Lesnar. Gets Brock's acclamation at SummerSlam. Gets into a feud with the Judgment Day. Then on top of that, Shinsuke Nakamura. All to make it back to the Royal Rumble and win again. But somehow, some way, this isn't what was in store. If you guys watched last night on SmackDown, and of course, judging by the picture that is on the screen, you would know that Cody had a dynamic with Roman Reigns last night. And Cody had this to say. Cody said along the lines of, you know, this whole week, I've been taking counsel to family, friends, legends. You know, last year you cheated me. I had you. You know I had you. And you resorted to cheating to take back your title. what is, being the head of the table? What is being the tribal chief? What is finishing the story, you may ask? The more that I look at it, I begin to notice that title means a lot to you. But then again, you also say that you not only own the title, you own the ring, the announce table, the camera, the fans. So what is it to finish the story? Is it just taking the title, or is it taking everything from you? Cody then says, I want that title, and I'm going to get it. And I'm coming for you, Roman Reigns. But not at WrestleMania. You see, I said I took counsel. And one of the people I took counsel with, Roman, knows you very well. Then you hear, if it's smell what The Rock is cooking, the arena in Birmingham, Alabama erupts. Out comes The Rock. And you're now sitting here like, holy crap, it's The Rock. It's The Rock, it's The Rock, it's The Rock. Internet gets broken for a quick second. He walks into the ring, gets onto the turnbuckle. Of course, does his infamous pose. Kind of wants to smell the air for a quick second. And as he enters the ring, the first person he looks at is Cody. Kind of have a cool little 3-second stare down. And then The Rock extends his hand. Cody, then proceeding to shake his hand, goes in for a hug, as you can see in the picture. Kind of seemed as if Rock was saying something to Cody. But you noticed how when he was talking, and then after about 3 seconds, Cody's face shifted. Felt dark. Felt eerie. Because usually when a legend comes to Cody, and as we've seen before with John Cena of sorts, and he has something to say to Cody Rhodes, it's all smiles.
Yeah.
With Rock here, he smiles for 3 seconds, and then Cody just goes blank. Edges out. Cody then proceeds to give him the gesture to stay in the ring. And Cody leaves. As he's walking out, kind of, handshakes a couple of fans in the front. And he's just still looking at the ring. And then Cody just turns his back and leaves. And as he's leaving up the ramp and exits back into Gorilla, Rock just stares and stands there and waits for Cody to finish. And as he's done, he turns his attention to Roman. And for about 5 minutes, this is awesome chants, holy chants. I mean, for God's sakes, the aura within the ring was just crazy. And then the WrestleMania kickoff press conference ticker comes up at the bottom and the show ends. So, peeps, from that to the handshake, to Cody Stanley leaving the ring, to the stare down, and the show ending like that, what it looks like, and what it looked like to almost every other wrestling fan, was that Cody seemingly just gave up his spot in the main event of WrestleMania against Roman Reigns to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So let me get this straight. 2 years. 2 years of us fans sitting here and trying to get back to finishing the story. From coming back after quote unquote smashing the throne, to facing Seth Rollins 3 straight times and winning. Within the last match, you tore your pec, still went over, made you look like Superman. Leaves to get surgery on the torn pec, comes back at the Rumble at number 30, wins the damn thing after eliminating Walter, loses at Mania 39, goes into a feud with Brock Lesnar, gains Brock's acclamation. You are literally the babyface that is carrying this company. After winning the Rumble, I don't know if any of you saw the press conference. This man literally said, I'm the quarterback that will be leading this company into the new era of WWE. So did being quarterback mean that you had to call the audible and make this play when literally all of us fans were behind you this time about finishing your story? Now, the thing here is that, listen, I've always loved The Rock. Always been a huge fan of The Rock. I was one of the Rock fans that actually cheered for The Rock when he came back in 2011. Who didn't cheer against him those 2 years that he went ahead and faced John Cena. Me seeing Rock become champion in 2012 had to be probably one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life as a wrestling fan. Because why? I wasn't a part of the Attitude Era. So to see Rock become champion, that was amazing. But he left. Went back to Hollywood. On and off relationship since then. Comes back during a WrestleMania. Comes back during a regular episode of SmackDown here and there. But that's it. But Cody seemingly saying last night, Roman, you call this the Hollywood title. Call it the Hollywood title. Call it, whatever title you want to call it.
The Hulk Hogan Championship.
The Hulk Hogan Championship, exactly. At the end of the day, this championship still has the same lineage that Bruno Sammartino held. That, who else? Billy Graham. And that my father held until it was swiftly taken away from him. That is the championship that I want. So for you to end the whole thing with, I'm coming for you, Roman Reigns, but not at WrestleMania, and seemingly having The Rock come in, you're telling me what? You're not coming for him now? So what does that leave me to? What? Next year's WrestleMania? SummerSlam? What? War Games? The Royal Rumble? You think us wrestling peeps, didn't I say this last year? I said, look, if Cody doesn't finish the story this year at WrestleMania, there is no story. You can't wait for a big payoff like this and not take the chance on it. This seemingly ruins his momentum. For the fans saying, oh, you guys can wait, as Triple H said in the press conference, the story's never finished. It was just a chapter. Guess what? If that's the case, Cody should have never won the damn Rumble in the first place. What did it take for The Rock to just show up at the Rumble and eliminate both CM Punk and Cody Rhodes? What would it have been for that to not happen? What? Like, I'm honestly speaking here, people. Like, what did they go ahead and think of when they said, you know what? Screw it. We're not going to have it like this. We're going to have it like that. Have Cody win the Rumble and then just seemingly just let Rock go ahead and main event against Roman. And then there's other things to it. There are sources, as of today, that are coming out and saying that because of the Punk injury, because of the stain that the McMahon allegations have brought upon WWE, they felt as if WrestleMania was up for grabs. And that with this being the first WrestleMania under TKO, they needed to hit it out of the ballpark. And with Punk being gone, with Rollins kind of being injured, all it took was just having Cody and Roman. And it kind of would have never been as big. And they said that Rock, being a board member of TKO, got other board members behind him to then speak to creative, Triple H including, and say, look, let me save WrestleMania. And how do you do that? By booking the match that we were supposed to have last year for this year. So now, what we're looking at is a 35% chance that we are getting Rock versus Roman Reigns in the main event of this year's WrestleMania. But what does that leave for Cody, the person who won the damn Royal Rumble? Now, I said this to Peeps last night, and I said, look, the only way I can see this happening is Cody faces Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber to sell out that show in Australia and have Rock interfere in the match and cost Roman the title just to continue the booking for this year's WrestleMania. Because why in the blue hell would Cody say, I'm coming for you, but not at WrestleMania? And remember, guys, this wouldn't be the first time somebody used their Royal Rumble winning to face the champion before WrestleMania. John Cena did it in 2008, then went on to face Orton at No Way Out. Of course, yeah, won by DQ, but still ended up going ahead and facing Randy Orton alongside Triple H at WrestleMania 24. That happened. But still, it doesn't feel right. I've been up about, okay, you know what? Maybe Cody finishes his story before WrestleMania and walks into WrestleMania as champion. Maybe goes on to defend the title against Randy Orton. First title defense, legacy versus legacy. Why not? But still, once again, Cody's story was meant to be finished at WrestleMania. That is what we're getting at here. So for it to simply be given to The Rock, I still can't believe it. Peeps, we're literally 12 hours removed from that show, and I still can't believe it. Something just feels weird. So I'm hoping for a swerve. Cody says we're going to be getting an answer on Monday. And on top of that, he's supposed to be on SmackDown this coming Friday. Peeps, you're a wrestling encyclopedia. You are one of my much more trusted friends and journalists. And as a wrestling historian, I know that you have a feeling for things like this when it comes to how booking-wise we can go ahead and make this work. So what I'm asking you is this. What were your thoughts to what happened in the final minutes of SmackDown last night? And what does the future of WrestleMania hold now that we're less than 70 days out?
Well, I see the writing on the wall, so to speak, as to why this happened. We definitely know that the reason why this all happened, for the most part, was accelerated by the Vince McMahon allegations and the scandal, basically the dark cloud over WWE. I think there were modest notions of The Rock using his name and his credentials and the cachet of goodwill that he has towards the people that know of his brand and his name, to go out there and kind of be the deodorant that gets the stink, or as much of the stink, off of the scandal from WWE and WrestleMania as possible. Therein, the association of the McMahon name on WrestleMania to try to get that off. So we understand that. I'm going to read something for those that have been on Sportskeeda, which is actually a pretty good wrestling website. One of the things that they talked about is a piece that they got as a report from PW Insider, basically stating that, and this is the quote, with Johnson's power as a member of the TKO board of directors, its Hollywood standing, and the backing of Ari Emanuel, Nick Khan, and others, the decision was made to go with Rock versus Reigns as the headline bout, believing it would be a greater attraction for the mainstream and also help push some positive momentum for the company, which is basically a PR way of stating literally what I just stated a little bit ago. That being said, there are so many plot holes in this that makes no sense. That one, it makes Cody look like an idiot if you're looking at his character. And at the same time, it makes Triple H and the booking that he's done, it takes all of that good feeling that they had, all that momentum, and putting it in a trash can and then setting the trash can on fire. Here's why I say this. Because if we're looking at what they have been building for the better part of 2 years, last year, a lot of people wanted that story to be finished there because it was perfect. It was in Hollywood. You had all of the stuff that my partner was there in the crowd watching. So I only know and imagine what it felt like for Roman to go out there and win, even though I had actually predicted that that was what was going to happen last year. This year is different in the sense that they had an entire year to build up some strife, to build up a whole lot of chaos, a lot of angst, and a lot of turmoil. Yes, indeed, I have said they have brought a lot of scat on Cody Rhodes on his road to redemption to WrestleMania. And if you follow the story, the first line of trouble that he had was going in, losing that title match. And then literally afterwards, the first big bump in the road was Brock Lesnar. And we all remember he came in, Brock wanted to get his hands on Roman, and then he turned on him, literally beat him to a pulp and left him laying there. And they had 3 of the most violent matches you could have between two people. And Brock put Cody over after the 3rd match, more so than he does to a lot of other wrestlers that he's had a feud with. That was the first. The next one was getting the redemption of Jey Uso by helping shepherd him onto Monday Night Raw. And we remember they won the tag team championships. They were able to kind of shepherd that storyline ahead and get that going. But it was all mostly for what he wanted, which was to finish his story. So you go through the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs, and you get back to where we are now, which was, here is Cody trying to get back into that championship groove. And the first sign of that groove is getting to the Royal Rumble. And he played his cards right. He got into the Rumble and he won it again. Now, I'm of the mindset that Cody was not meant to win the Rumble. I think this was CM Punk's Rumble to win. And I think that, as you said before, they called the audible. I think the audible was called after CM Punk figured out sometime in that match he tore his tricep. So there we have the change, and there we go. Cody is now the winner. And you have in your hand an ironclad chance to go main event WrestleMania night 2 against whoever you pick, and that is the main event. We all know who he was going to go after. It was Roman Reigns. Here is now where we get the hiccup. CM Punk's injury. Seth Rollins' injury. And then, of course, Seth on Monday trying to convince Cody to have the championship match with him and not Roman, taking into consideration what he said about both championships, which is a valid point. But we all know if that was the case, then that's a step down in what Cody has been trying to do. He's going to finish the story and go after who is the workhorse champion of the two. But let's really be honest. That belt was created because Roman is the Hollywood champion that's got the schedule. And anybody that listened to that promo that Roman cut yesterday on SmackDown was probably the most convincingly arrogant promo that his character has done. And it was tremendous. It was well
Not
put.
only that, peeps, he literally crapped on the World Heavyweight title.
Exactly. He hit that. And that's the reason why the promo was so effective, because it hit from two angles. One, yeah, I do have a lighter schedule. I work less dates than you, and I make more money than you. So not only did he dump on the creation of the championship, but also its importance. So now, after him saying that and letting everybody know in the promo that that belt really means nothing, you can be the best number 2 in this company, or you can try to be number 1 again. And that is about as close as he sounded to an old Ric Flair promo, because Flair would cut promo something like that. So I love the promo. And here we have Cody coming out there to literally explain, I'm coming after that. And then all of a sudden, we both do the Scooby-Doo roll? No. He's stepping away from the match. Now, here's what's going to happen between now and Monday, and then from Monday to Thursday, because Thursday is supposed to be the press conference in Las Vegas to let everybody know where we stand with WrestleMania and the matches that they're locking in. And I'm pretty sure it's going to have a lot to do with The Rock and Roman and maybe Cody. Cody's going to probably say something on Monday to kind of allude to this. And it's that conversation that he had with The Rock before he stepped out, where he looked despondent. He looked devastated. He also looked very emotional. And dare I say it, he looked hurt going in after that. And then he left and he walked on. I'm of the mindset, and this is something that I've shared with people that watch wrestling that understand the mindset. Wrestling fans that understand kayfabe, that understand why we watch pro wrestling, you don't have to tell us, oh, this is predetermined, or this is this, or this is that.
We know.
Nobody cares. We know this.
Care.
We want the great storylines that come out to make sense. If you say that I have an apple and an orange, and you tell me that the apple, which is usually red or green, is going to be blue, if you explain to the person that follows these two fruits and tell them that the apple is blue, and you give them a legitimate, non-ridiculous answer, nothing farcical or anything that's going to insult their intelligence about why that apple is blue, and make them believe that that apple is blue, then the person that's going to look at it is like, you know what? That makes sense. I'll go with it. And you didn't insult my intelligence as to why this apple is blue. That's what wrestling fans want with their product. They want to make common sense from the decision. What's going to determine whether or not people that are the diehard wrestling fans are going to sit and believe that Cody being in the main event of WrestleMania is going to bequeath his spot to somebody that has not had a full-on official wrestling match in a long time. And I'm not even talking about the Eric Rowan WrestleMania spot that was, 9 seconds long. That doesn't count. That doesn't count. He has not had a full-on wrestling match in years. And that's the guy that's sitting on the board of TKO that basically muscled his way into booking himself into the main event of WrestleMania, potentially. Now, this could definitely be part of a bigger story that may still include Cody at WrestleMania. We don't know this. And I think that's why I reserve a full amount of what I think may happen until we see it Monday and then Thursday and then next Friday for SmackDown. But if they come up with some half-baked explanation that makes no sense at all, you literally neutered Cody's push. You've made all that magic that he has generated irrelevant, all for the quick buy of getting an established star, a very part-time star, but still an established megastar to headline the biggest wrestling card of the year. And you have literally shoehorned Cody into the background for no apparent reason other than just dumb luck. And I think that is hurting a lot of fans, because I went online earlier this morning and I watched a bunch of tweets talking about Triple H. I think you've gone too far as a booker.
Drop the ball.
Move the book. Give the book to Shawn Michaels. You should retire. The Vince stuff is really getting to you. You're looking desperate. These are the comments and tweets that I saw of people online that are wrestling fans just like us. Mm-hmm. And as we said before, patience is something that you definitely need to have when it comes to storylines in wrestling. If there is supposed to be a designed, very good payoff, if the payoff is where we think it's going to be, and we hope it's what it should be, which should have ended with Cody finishing his story at WrestleMania. If that's not what happens, because I'm of the mindset that if Cody was going to face Roman, he's going to win the championship.
Yep.
But if it's Rock versus Roman, and there was supposed to be a championship involved, which makes no sense because there's no need for that.
Exactly.
Then Cody losing his spot to The Rock, and then The Rock would lose to Roman. Because the reason why I say this is I firmly, strongly believe that this company really wants Roman and his championship reign to exist past a certain point before they get that belt off of him. I really believe that Hogan, who he's not that far off from surpassing, is where they want to be the threshold to get him over to promote. God mode is better than Hulkamania. That's where they're headed to, I think.
Look,
and
that's where I'm like,
yes,
this is where it just doesn't make any sense to me. Because if anything, right, we as wrestling fans look at reigns, title reigns, I should say.
Yes.
But we don't always only look at the days. We look at the number of defenses.
Yes.
Now, if you're going to tell me that, Roman Reigns' current reign is bigger than San Martino's just because of the number of days, I'm going to sit there and tell you, no, that's plain BS to me. It's irrelevant. Why? Because if anything, San Martino defended that title 5 times more than Roman has in the past year. Am I wrong?
You're correct.
If he passes Hogan, you're going to sit there and tell me, oh, yeah, longest reigning WWE champion past Hogan is currently Roman Reigns, which makes him past anything greater. I'm going to sit there and laugh in your face. Why? Because Hogan defended that title at literally every single MSG house show, every single show out of the territory for that amount of time that he reigned as champion for 1,400, 500 something days. Am I wrong?
You're right. Even though it was a different time, but exactly. Yes.
I'll even go as far to say this. You can put Roman Reigns' current title reign up against CM Punk's 434 days, and I'll still tell you CM Punk's reign was better.
Oh, yeah.
Why? because of the number of defenses. And not only because of the number of defenses, because I know what you may add here is, oh, well, Punk cheated in some of those reigns. He still went ahead and like won clean on most during like what, the first 200 something days until he aligned himself with Paul Heyman was when he started to go ahead and coerce to win. Roman, on the other hand, peeps, other than the moment he won the title at Payback, give me one time out of all of that Roman won clean without an interference from the bloodline.
Yeah, you can potentially look at
Cena maybe for one.
Mm-hmm. You can go all about the WrestleMania main event with Edge and Bryan Danielson.
I mean, Jey Uso is still out there, peeps.
That is true.
That's kind of like, okay, you know, you can even say the same thing for the Fatal 4-Way.
Yes.
But if anything, had Solo not been there, Randy Orton would have been champion right now. Am I wrong?
And that's literally the same thing that happened last year at WrestleMania. Because if it wasn't for Solo, Cody would have won the belt.
Who was already kicked out from ringside.
Yes. So they pulled in AEW with the referees, kicking a guy out only for him to return. It makes no sense.
So you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Without interferences from if you were to tell me these 1,200 days mattered, you would have to tell me that Roman would win clean without interference from the bloodline, without anybody having no, like, you know, like, okay, you know what? Damn it. Okay, look, get Solo out there. Or you know what? You know, cough up the pin, whatever the case may be. If this was a Walter Intercontinental title type reign, I would sit here and tell you, you know what? Have Roman going ahead and like passing Hogan. Let him get the whole thing, for God's sakes. 8 years? Shoot, why not? He's winning clean. But no. Cheating. They're cheating. Pinfall after pinfall that has literally ended in interference by Solo, Jey Uso, or Jimmy. You're going to sit here and tell me that, yeah, let's have Roman just go ahead and get the reign for the fun of it. It doesn't make any sense. Because that's what I'm saying, peeps. You have him strategically win against The Rock at WrestleMania. Let him get 1,400, 500 days. Let him pass Hogan. Let him go on to defend the title at next year's WrestleMania. If Cody wins, yeah, he wins, whatever. But you know what's going to happen, peeps? The same thing that's happened to every single other babyface WWE champion the minute they win the title. Boos. The crowd turns. It's no longer, oh, you know what? This is great. He finally finished the story. Let's stand behind him. No, it took you 3 years to go ahead and get to it. Now we hate you. Turn the title over. We don't want to see you as champion. It was long overdue before, and it didn't happen. So you're going to seemingly tell me, the fan, to wait until next year's WrestleMania for him to finish? Don't make no sense. You're telling me to have him go ahead and sit there and win the title at Elimination Chamber. What sense does it make there?
Yes.
It can't be anything other than WrestleMania. Because mind you, Cena went ahead and used it out, from the Rumble all the way to No Way Out. Won by DQ, didn't win the title. You see the understanding there?
Yeah.
Now, if you tell me somehow, some way, this is just a ruse to go ahead and have Rock kind of just be like, you know what? I'm going to be special enforcer to Cody. Something along that line.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe even this. What if? Because I saw this on Twitter today. I'm sitting there like, okay, this would make sense. But still, to what extent are we trying to get here? To where press conference happens. And then the following night, here's what happens. Press conference, Rock, Roman face to face. They announced that, the match is going to be Rock, Roman, WWE Championship main event of WrestleMania. Rock signs the contract. Roman, without hesitation, signs it. Says, I've always wanted this moment to come. And at WrestleMania, I'm going to smash you. I'm going to send you back to our family. And now I'm going to go ahead and continue to take my place as the head of the table. signs a contract, whatever the case may be. Rock, you don't know what you're doing, probably a rock bottom, so to say, and then move on to the next night. Roman calls out The Rock. Rock comes through. Rock's just like, you notice I told you signed your life away? Well, you did. Notice that you have a stupid special counsel, because for some reason, I don't think he looked over the contract. Because the contract says that I am going to be at WrestleMania and you are going to be defending the title. But when I signed to be the special guest referee, which means I'm not going to go ahead and let you supposedly win clean. And your challenger, out comes the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. This is the only way, peeps, this would make total sense. If this is not going to happen, I don't want to see Cody Rhodes win the WWE Championship anymore. I'm done. Because Cody has to win at WrestleMania. Cody has to take the WWE title at WrestleMania. If it doesn't happen this year, you're going to tell me for the third year Cody's going to finish the story? I don't want it. I really don't. It happens in my face. I'm going to sit there and be like, hooray. Once the show's over, screw him. I'm done.
I hear you.
It's, oh gosh. I digress.
As I said before, what is the reason why I'm reserving a lot of what I think may happen is that I am very curious as to what they're going to do Monday. Monday will go a huge way in understanding where that is, because Cody, maybe he will reveal what The Rock told him, and he'll at least give us an idea as to what's next. But if he goes ahead and he genuflects to The Rock and backs away and says, well, I still have a title shot, he at least he's openly admitted he's going to go after Roman and win the championship. So I think that from this sense, that is what the plan is. But he's putting his WrestleMania moment on the back burner, and maybe the thought process is Cody is thinking, and this is what The Rock is thinking, kayfabe-wise, that Roman needs to be taught a lesson in who the real tribal chief is. We know that the thought process is, as far as this tribal chief moniker is, the heir apparent to being the tribal chief is Solo Sikoa. So we know that that's where they're leaning as far as the next phase of the storyline is. The question is, where does that put Cody? And once we get to Monday, and then we get to Thursday's press conference, and then Friday for SmackDown, we'll have much more clarity on that aspect. But I think right now, just on its laurels right now, put everything on the table from what we've just seen from this Friday, it doesn't make any sense. And as I said before, this is the appearance of not what it is, but what it looks like from the outside, is that it looks like The Rock muscled his way in to main event WrestleMania. It looks like Cody has sacrificed his main event status for WrestleMania. And if he takes any other match that does not feature him in the main event, it makes Cody look like a fool, further hurting the credibility of the belief that the fans have in his character as to why you've been very judicious in your promos and how you presented yourself. He stayed away from the what fans, because the fans, you know how quick the fans can turn on a hot talent. Very quick. He stayed away from that, especially after the year that he had last year, ending at losing the main event at WrestleMania. He's kept his momentum, and dare I say it, he's actually gotten even more momentum since that loss over the momentum that he had going in last year. And you run the risk of turning the stove off and cooling the soup down by allowing that to happen, unless there's some other storyline beats that we don't know of yet that will explain what happens, and then everybody still gets that story. Because I'm of the mindset, from what you were saying about as far as the Elimination Chamber, that's not going to happen, because we know Roman isn't going to be at Elimination Chamber. He stated that. I think WWE stated that. And I'm of the mindset that since the Elimination Chamber is in Perth, Australia, the entire show will be all mommy. It's going to be all Rhea Ripley. And I would not be surprised if Rhea Ripley actually main evented the show. If the Elimination Chamber was like the undercard to the main event of her main eventing the show, probably against Nia Jax, just because of the feud involved. I think that's what they're doing. I think she's going to feature prominently on the show as far as marketing. They'd be silly if they didn't. The marketing, the match types, her involvement, all of those things going to Australia since that's where she's from. And that is going to be the main selling point of the Elimination Chamber outside of, well, the winner of the chamber is going to factor into doing something at WrestleMania. I think that's where that goes. But in general, Cody right now is in a very precarious spot right now that if they do this wrong by Monday, when we come back to do this show next Saturday, there's going to be a lot of adjectives and verbs in our discussion of what has happened over this past couple of days.
You're right. You're right. So at this point, for 45 minutes, we talked about this. Let's save probably the next 45 minutes for the next episode of the show, right, peeps?
Yes.
But what a week in pro wrestling.
Yes.
This is
to say the least.
To say the least. Yes, to say the least. Because peeps, I mean, for God's sakes. From Vince to Jay to Bianca coming face to face to Cody seemingly winning the title, winning, a chance to go ahead and get the title, to Punk getting injured, to Drew supposedly going ahead and becoming a Chucky heel. I mean, for God, it happened in the span of only 5 days, and it only feels like we've been here for what, 4 weeks?
Correct.
Peeps, pro wrestling at its finest. Pro wrestling at its finest.
Yes.
But guys, look. This was the end of today's episode. We'll reconvene this on episode 4 next week, of course. The words of Roddy Piper, God rest his soul. When everybody thinks they have the answers, I think so with the questions being unanswered for the rest of the week, we'll know by Friday what the future holds for WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and of course Dwayne The Rock Johnson. What the future holds for all of us like-minded fans who will be taking a trip to Philadelphia to go ahead and supposedly see Cody Rhodes in this story by winning the U.S. title. Yeah, I see the title. I know what I was saying. Yeah, because at this point, have him win a series. I digress.
Yeah. There's number 3 right there. Okay.
4. I don't know if you got the other one in the bag, but yeah, I said.
Okay, I got you 4 then. There we go.
4. But yeah, so look, guys, it was a good show. We appreciate everybody coming on. It was amazing from start to finish. We want some more. We appreciate you guys. We thank you guys. If anything, you want to follow for the latest social media news and updates on our page, all you got to do is follow us on Instagram at Saturday Afternoons_main event, and on Twitter at Saturday Main, or should I say X? For God's sakes, too many X's this past week. I can't even. Yeah, forget that. But like I said, guys, we'll see you guys next week. And it was on a show like this called Saturday Afternoons Main Event that I, the phenomenal one,
and I, the Peeps Nate, where we came,
we saw,
and in the words of the wise man Paul Heyman, we conquered.
We conquered, ladies and gentlemen. See you next week for episode 4. It's the phenomenal one. It's the Peeps Nate. It's the greatest thing in mankind for professional wrestling podcast, Saturday Afternoons Main Event, signing off. Peace, love, farewell.